The planet of Valtheria was beautiful, cold, and deadly. Snow covered the mountains like white fire. The air was thin, and the stars felt close. But in one lonely glass tower, a young alien girl lived alone. Her name was Sira. She had pale silver skin, long white hair, and eyes like frozen lakes. To the outside world, she was known by another name, the girl with the curse touch. No one came near her. No one dared, because everyone she ever touched died. Her curse began when she was a child. She didn't know how it started. She only remembered holding her mother's hand when she was scared, and her mother froze. Her body turned to crystal, her face still smiling, eyes wide open. After that, her father cried and locked her away. He never touched her again. And one day he was gone too. For years, Sira lived alone in that cold glass tower. She watched the snow fall. She read old books. Robots brought her food. Guards watched her from far away. Scientists studied her through thick glass walls. They called her a danger, a living weapon. Some called her a curse from the ice gods. But Sira? She just felt lonely. One day something changed. A loud crash shook the ground. Alarms screamed. Bright lights flashed through the sky. A human spacecraft had crashed not far from her tower. Rescue teams were sent. Sira watched from her window. She had never seen a real human before, only in old videos. They looked strange. Brown skin, different faces, warm breath. But one man caught her eye. He walked with a limp but held a tool like a sword. His jacket was torn. His eyes were calm. He didn't look scared like the others. His name was Daniel, Gray, a mechanic from Earth. He had survived the crash and was helping others, and then the unexpected happened. During a supply search, Daniel got lost. He walked past security zones. The guards shouted warnings, but he didn't hear them. Snow was falling hard. Visibility was low. Daniel reached the edge of Sira's glass tower. He saw her. She stood still behind the transparent wall. She looked like a statue. He raised a hand and waved. Sira hesitated. Then slowly, very slowly, she lifted her hand and touched the glass from her side. Their palms met with only glass between, and then the glass melted, not cracked, not shattered. Melted, soft, like ice touched by fire. Daniel fell forward, stumbling inside the tower. "Stop him," the guard shouted, but it was too late. Sira gasped. He stood in front of her, only a few feet away. Her heart beat fast. Her hands shook. "No," she whispered. "Don't come closer." But Daniel stepped forward. And then, he did the unthinkable. He reached out his hand and touched. Hers. A loud silence followed. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. Nothing happened. Daniel didn't freeze. His body didn't turn to ice. His blood didn't stop. He simply stood there looking at her gently. "Your hand," he said, smiling a little. "It's cold, but it's soft." Sira's lips trembled. Why aren't you dead?" Daniel frowned. "Should I be?" She pulled her hand back, scared. "I don't understand. Everyone I touch, they freeze. They die." Daniel looked down at his hand. He opened and closed it, then looked at her again. "I'm still alive," he said simply. Outside, alarms rang. Doors sealed shut. Guards ran toward the tower in panic. Inside, Sira stood frozen, but not from her curse, from shock. This man, this human, was the first being in the entire galaxy who could touch her and live. As the guards rushed in, Daniel held his hands up. Hey, I didn't know she was dangerous," Sira whispered. "You touched me and nothing happened." A scientist outside yelled, "Pull him out, he's infected." But Daniel turned to Sira. "Do you want me to leave?" Her voice cracked like breaking ice. "No. Please. Don't." Daniel sat on a cold metal bench inside the observation chamber. The alien scientists wore thick suits and didn't speak to him. They kept pointing scanners at his body, checking his heart. eyes and skin every few minutes, but nothing was wrong with him. He felt fine. In fact, he felt more alive than ever. Behind the clear glass wall, Sierra sat in silence. Her hands were folded on her lap. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders like soft ice. Her eyes, however, stayed locked on Daniel. She had never seen anything like him, not just because he was human, but because he had touched her and lived. Every living creature that touched her skin had frozen to death. Her touch was like poison made of cold. Some said she was cursed by ancient gods. Others said she carried the ice plague. But now, all that was in question, because of one human, Daniel broke the silence first. So, is this normal? I mean, people poking me with machines and not telling me anything? No one answered. One of the aliens whispered to another. Impossible. His body heat is normal. Another added, but the girl touched him, direct contact, he should be dead. Daniel rolled his eyes. I'm still here, guys. Maybe say it to my face? At last, an older alien scientist stepped forward. His name was Dr. Keylor, and he looked more serious than the rest. Human, he said. What is your name? Daniel Gray, he replied. You have touched Subject Sierra? Yes. She held my hand. And you feel no pain? None. Should I? Dr. Keylor stared at him. Yes. You should be a block of ice. Daniel looked over at Sierra again. She didn't want to hurt me. She warned me not to touch her, but I did because she looked sad. Like she hadn't been touched in years. The room fell silent again. Finally, Dr. Keylor pressed a button. The glass door slid open with a soft hiss. You will come with me, he said. They took Daniel to a deep underground lab. The walls glowed. Blue and strange lights flickered across alien machines. Sierra followed quietly behind, always keeping a few steps away. The guards didn't stop her anymore, not after what they saw. Inside the lab, a hologram of Sierra's body floated in the air. Keylor spoke, pointing at glowing lines. Sierra's body emits a rare energy field. We believe it is connected to her cells, like living ice. Her skin absorbs heat rapidly. When she touches others, their heat is taken too fast. It freezes their organs instantly. Daniel nodded slowly. But that didn't happen to me. No, Keylor said. You are different. Your body produces something we haven't seen before. We call it counter-thermal bioflow. Daniel blinked. Sounds made up. It means your body's energy balances hers. Like fire meeting cold, but neither wins. Harmony. Sierra looked down at her hands. So, I'm not cursed? Dr. Keylor paused. Maybe not. Maybe you were just waiting for the right kind of warmth. Daniel gave a soft smile. Guess I'm a human heater. That made Sierra smile too, just a little. A small, shy smile that lit up her pale face. But peace didn't last long. News of the incident had spread across the base. Military officers arrived. They weren't scientists. They didn't care about energy fields or bioflow. They only cared about danger. She's a threat, said Commander Vorsak. The girl must remain in isolation. The human should be quarantined. She's not a threat, Daniel replied. She's a person. She's a weapon, the officer snapped. Sierra took a step back, eyes wide. She had heard this all before, but this time, someone stepped in front of her. Daniel. He stood between her and the armed guards. She didn't hurt me. You saw it with your own eyes. She tried to warn me. I touched her. I'm fine. Maybe it's time you stop fearing her and start listening to her. Commander Vorsak growled. This is not your world, human. Daniel nodded. No, it's not. But I know fear when I see it, and I know loneliness even better. He turned to Sierra. You've been alone for so long, haven't you? She nodded slowly. All my life. Daniel held out his hand again. Sierra hesitated. Then she placed her fingers in his. Warmth passed between them. No one died, No one froze. And for the first time, the entire room watched a miracle. A deadly girl, holding hands with the only being in the galaxy who could make her feel alive. The science lab was colder than usual, but Daniel wasn't shivering. He was sitting on a metal table, shirt off, wires stuck to his chest and arms. Around him, alien doctors moved quickly, their long fingers typing on glowing panels. Strange machines hummed, clicking and beeping. Across the room, Sierra stood behind thick, transparent glass, watching him carefully. Her silver eyes were full of worry. No one knew why Daniel was immune to her deadly touch. Now they wanted answers. "Begin core temperature test," Dr. Keylor said. One of the scientists nodded. "Raising thermal exposure to 25 degrees Celsius." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Is this safe?" "No," one of them replied honestly. "But we will stop before your skin melts." Daniel groaned. "Well, that's comforting." The machine pumped heat into the room. Sweat formed on his brow. His heart beat faster. Still, he stayed calm. He looked at Sierra and gave her a thumbs up. She smiled back, a little nervous. Keylor watched closely. "Still stable. Begin cold cycle." The heat vanished. A blast of cold air followed, colder than the mountains outside. Frost formed on Daniel's skin. His teeth should have chattered, but they didn't. He was calm, still warm inside. Sierra stepped forward, placing her hand flat against the glass wall. "He's not like the others," she whispered. "He's balanced." Keylor turned. "Say that again?" "I can feel it," Sierra said. "When I touched others, their energy broke like glass. But with him, it's like snow landing on water." Keylor turned to his team. "Prepare the direct contact chamber." Daniel raised an eyebrow again. "That sounds worse." Minutes later, they brought Daniel into a round room, sealed with airlocks and glowing with blue lights. Sierra was led inside from the other side. There were no suits, no gloves, no walls between them. "Go ahead," Keylor said through the speaker. "Touch again, slowly." Sierra was nervous. Her fingers trembled. "Are you sure?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I trust you." She reached forward. Their hands touched, palm to palm. This time, not just hands. Daniel gently guided her fingers to his arm, his face, even over his chest. She touched all of it. Nothing froze. His skin was warm. Sierra's eyes filled with tears. "I've never touched someone this much before," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "Well, it's my first time being in a freezing lab with a girl, so I guess we're even." That made her giggle. The scientist behind the glass couldn't believe it. Keylor wrote notes quickly. "Record everything. The energy field around them is synchronizing. They're adapting to each other." An assistant asked, "What does that mean?" Keylor's face was serious. "It means the human isn't just immune. He's changing her." Later, they tried more tests. Hot sand, ice baths, even placing them both in a vacuum bubble with no air for 6 seconds. Each time Daniel handled it. And Sierra, instead of harming him, started showing signs of warmth herself. Her skin temperature rose. Her breath didn't freeze in the air. Her touch no longer melted walls. It was as if his presence was undoing the curse. They tested her touch on plants next. First a flower. She touched the petal. It shook, but didn't die. She gasped. "It's alive." Daniel nodded. "Looks like I'm good luck." Keylor stared in disbelief. "You've altered her biology. This should not be possible." But other scientists joined. Some doubted, some feared, but the proof was in front of them. The girl who once froze life could now hold it. And the only change was the presence of one human. That night, Sierra and Daniel sat beside each other in the garden lab. A small alien bird landed on her hand and chirped. It didn't freeze. Sierra's voice was soft. "Do you think this will last?" Daniel leaned back. "I think we're writing a new rule. Maybe this was never a curse. Maybe you were just waiting for someone like me." Sierra looked at him with quiet eyes. Or maybe you were the one who needed me. Daniel blinked. What do you mean? You've been calm, brave, but I can feel your pain too. You've lost people, haven't you? He didn't answer at first, then said, Yeah, I lost my sister. She froze in space, faulty suit seal. I couldn't save her. Sierra reached for his hand again. You saved me. And for a moment, the stars outside didn't look so cold. The snow fell softly outside the dome like pieces of memory drifting from the sky. Inside the garden chamber, quiet music played from an old human recorder, something Daniel had fixed. A slow melody filled the air, soft and full of longing. Sierra sat near a glowing heat stone, her knees pulled close to her chest. Daniel sat across from her, sipping from a thermal cup. Neither spoke for a long time. Then finally Sierra whispered, Do you want to know what I remember the most? Daniel looked up. Tell me. She didn't look at him. Her eyes stared far away like watching something that only she could see. When I was small, before the freezing started, my mother used to braid my hair every night. Her hands were warm, always gentle. She would sing a song passed down from the elder queens, the song of the Ice Queen. Daniel leaned forward. Ice Queen? Sierra nodded. It's a story from my people, about a woman made of snow. She was cursed, born without fire in her heart. Everything she touched turned to frost. So she fled to the mountains, alone. Daniel's face grew serious. That sounds familiar. Sierra gave a bitter smile. Yes, but the story says something else. That the Ice Queen could only be saved by one thing. Not magic, not science, but a touch that didn't fear her. A heart strong enough to melt her. Sadness, Daniel said softly. And you think that's happening now? I don't know, Sierra said. Maybe I just want it to be real. The next day, Daniel was allowed to visit her tower, now no longer a prison. The guards still watched from a distance, but they didn't try to stop him. Inside, he looked around in silence. The walls were full of drawings, not digital screens, actual hand-painted pictures. One showed a young girl holding a flower. Another showed two hands almost touching, separated by ice. These are yours? Daniel asked. Sierra nodded. I painted them to remember what I never had, things I only imagined. I always wondered what touch felt like, what kindness was like. Daniel walked slowly through the room, stopping at one picture. It showed a figure, made of fire, reaching out to a figure of ice. No faces, just light and shadow. You kept hoping, he said. I did, she whispered, even when I froze my tutor. Even when the elders ordered me locked away. I kept hoping someone would find me and not run. Daniel turned to her. I didn't run. No, Sierra said, stepping close. You didn't. You even came back. She reached up and gently touched his cheek. Her hand was cool, but not deadly. His skin welcomed her, and for the first time in years she felt something new. Connection. Later that night, a message arrived from the High Council of Xeral, the ruling body of her people. A trial was set, not for punishment, but to decide her future. The council would review the evidence, her changing biology, Daniel's presence, and whether the curse was now ended. If they believe I'm still dangerous, Sierra said quietly, they'll send me to the Dead Moons, a place with no people. No life, nothing to freeze. Daniel stood up. They won't. You don't know them, she said, looking away. No, he said. But I know you. At the trial, the council chamber was full. Alien leaders in long robes sat in rows. Screens showed recordings. Sierra holding birds, walking through flowers, laughing beside Daniel. But one elder, a cold-eyed female named Marian, stood up. This may be temporary. The human may be shielding the curse, not breaking it. What happens when he leaves? What if the girl's touch returns to death? The crowd murmured. Sierra stood trembling. Don't know. But I'm not afraid anymore. I don't want to be locked away again. I don't want to be called a weapon. And what do you want? Murian asked. Sierra looked directly at Daniel. I want to live. Then Daniel stepped forward. He didn't bow. He didn't give a speech. He just walked to Sierra, gently took her hand in front of everyone and placed it over his heart. I'm here, and I'm not leaving. The chamber fell into silence. And slowly, one by one, the elders stood, not in protest, but in respect. That night, as they walked under the moonlight, Sierra said quietly, Maybe I was never cursed. Maybe I was just waiting for my fire. Daniel smiled. You weren't waiting. You were surviving. And now you're burning brighter than anyone I've ever met. The Ice Queen's song, once just an old story, had become something real. And her heart, once frozen, was finally warm. The stars above Valtheria were calm that night. But something dark moved beneath them. Snowflakes danced in the air, falling softly across the glass fields outside Sierra's tower. Daniel had just finished repairing a broken heater in her room. He wiped sweat from his forehead and smiled. That should keep this place toasty till next century. Sierra chuckled. You're the only one who can fix machines. And me. But unknown to them both, danger was already creeping closer. 3 shadowy figures moved silently across the frozen plains, dressed in dark armor, with masks that covered their faces. They carried blades designed to cut through reinforced alien steel. But these blades weren't meant for machines. They were sent for Sierra. Earlier that day, a secret message was passed through one of the outer colonies. A hidden faction, calling themselves the Frostbound Purists, had declared that Sierra's existence was still a threat. The curse may be asleep, their leader had said, but fire always burns away, and ice always returns. They believed Sierra was too dangerous to live, especially now that she had proven her touch could change. They wanted her dead. Back at the tower, Daniel was asleep on a chair near the window. Sierra had fallen asleep on the floor beside the heat stone, wrapped in a soft blanket. For the first time in years, her breath didn't frost the air. She was dreaming of holding flowers in a field, of running freely, of touching others without fear. That dream was about to be shattered. Crash. The window exploded inward. Shards of glass and snow flew through the room. Daniel rolled off his chair and grabbed the tool wrench from the wall. Sierra gasped and scrambled back as 3 masked figures stepped into the room. Stay back, Daniel shouted. They didn't listen. One charged. Daniel swung hard, metal cracked against armor, and the attacker stumbled. Back. Another drew a shock blade and lunged. Daniel ducked just in time, grabbing the attacker's arm and slamming it into the wall. But the third one rushed straight for Sierra. She raised her hands. Don't. The assassin reached for her throat. Big mistake. She didn't want to, but instinct took over. Her skin flared blue. Her hand brushed the attacker's chest. The assassin froze instantly, his armor cracking, body locking in place. He dropped like a statue of ice, hitting the ground and breaking into glittering pieces. The other 2 stared in horror. Daniel stepped in front of Sierra. Try that again, he growled. One attacker tried to run. Daniel threw his wrench and knocked the man flat. The last one grabbed a flash bomb, but Sierra pointed at him. Her eyes glowed. I said, leave me alone. A wave of frost shot out, cold but controlled. The attacker screamed as frost formed on his boots, trapping him in place. Within minutes, the tower alarms rang. Security drones arrived. The attackers were taken away. Sierra collapsed into Daniel's arms. I didn't mean to hurt them, she whispered. I thought it was gone. Daniel held her close. No. You controlled it. You didn't freeze everything. That means something. Her hands trembled. They still want me dead, even now. Daniel pulled her tighter. Then they'll have to go through me. Later that night, the council was informed. The attack shocked many, but others expected it. Dr. Kaylor said, This is proof that her power is still dangerous. but also proof that she now has control. Some elders demanded she be locked away. Again. Others said she had shown restraint. But Daniel said something no one could ignore. You fear what you don't understand, but I've seen her control it. I've seen her hold back. She's not the weapon. They are. The ones who want to kill a girl for simply existing. Marianne, the harsh elder from before, stood up slowly. Then what do you suggest, human? Daniel looked straight into her eyes. Train her. Don't hide her. Teach her. Help her learn what her powers really are. Marianne raised a brow. And you will guide her? I already am. Later, in the quiet of the tower, Sira sat beside the broken window. Snow drifted inside. Daniel placed a new shield panel over the gap and sat next to her. You okay? He asked. Sira nodded. I didn't freeze you. I didn't freeze the whole room. I stopped myself. Daniel smiled. You did more than that. You chose not to be afraid anymore. Sira leaned on his shoulder. I don't want to be their Ice Queen, she said softly. I want to be something else. What? She looked up at him. Your flame. A cold wind blew across the Hall of Judgment. Sira stood in the center of the glowing platform, her long silver hair tied back, her hands clasped together to hide the slight trembling. She wore no armor, no royal robe, only a simple white dress, symbolizing peace. Beside her stood Daniel, calm and silent. But his jaw was tight. Around them, the High Council of Valtheria sat in a circle, watching with sharp eyes. These elders held the power to decide Sira's fate, freedom or exile, life or something worse. A voice echoed through the tall chamber. Begin. It was Elder Marianne, once again leading the vote. She stood slowly. Sira, child of frost, you are called here to answer one question. Do you remain a danger to our world? The chamber lights dimmed as a hologram displayed the recent attack. It showed the assassins breaking in, and Sira freezing one of them instantly. The room tensed. She still carries the touch of death, said one elder, but she saved a life. Another replied. That human would be dead without her powers. Voices rose. Debate sparked. Then, Elder Keylor spoke. Before we speak of punishment, perhaps we should speak of change. He gestured, and the hologram shifted. Now it showed something new. Sira holding a flower that didn't die. A bird sitting calmly on her shoulder. Her hand pressed to Daniel's skin and nothing freezing. This, Keylor said, is not a weapon. This is progress, evolution. Marianne narrowed her eyes. Or illusion. Perhaps the human shields her. What if he dies? What if she loses control again? Daniel stepped forward. No one is asking if you might be the danger. You all locked her away when she was just a child. You feared her without helping her, and yet she still chooses to protect. He pointed to Sira. She could have frozen the entire tower during the attack. She didn't. She held back. She's learning. She's growing. Isn't that what life is? Silence filled the room. Sira looked up, her voice soft but firm. I never asked for this power. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I used to think I was cursed, but now I know something else. She turned to Daniel and smiled slightly. Was alone for so long I forgot how to feel warm. But this human, he reminded me. I can choose, I can change, I can be more. The hall was still, and then a slow sound began. Clap. One elder, then another. Not all of them, but enough. Marianne looked around, clearly displeased. This is not how we decide. The girl is still untested. Daniel stepped forward. Then test us both. Gasps filled the room. What are you suggesting? Marianne asked sharply. Daniel looked at Sira, then back at the council. I propose a bond, not by your laws, but by choice. I will stay by her side. I will help her master this. If you fear her alone, then don't let her be alone. Syrah's eyes widened. Daniel. He turned to her. Only if you choose it. Tears welled in her eyes, not cold but warm. I choose you, she whispered. The elders whispered among themselves. No one had expected this. A bond between a human and a Valtherian girl, one marked by frost and fear. But now she had someone who didn't fear her, someone who made her better. At last, Marian sat down. The council will decide. The next day, the decision was delivered. The message was short. Syrah is to remain free, under observation, with the human, Daniel Gray, as her guardian companion. She will begin training to control her gift, no longer a prisoner, but a student. Syrah stood on the platform overlooking the mountains. Wind whipped through her hair, but she wasn't cold. Daniel joined her, handing her a warm drink. So, student, huh? She smiled. I guess that makes you my teacher. I prefer partner, he said with a wink. They stood in silence for a moment, then she asked, Do you think I can really control it? Forever? Daniel nodded. I think you already are. She reached out, gently taking his hand, and this time, for the first time in front of the entire planet, they kissed. No frost, no fear. Just a girl once cursed, and the man who made her believed she could be more. The snow no longer scared her. Syrah walked barefoot across the frozen field, her feet sinking softly into the snow. Behind her, glowing lights marked the new training center built just for her. No guards, no glass walls, just open sky, and a future she never believed she would have. Daniel stood nearby, adjusting a small drone that hovered around her. Okay, he said, grinning. Try again. Reach out slowly, just like we practiced. Syrah raised her hand, palm out. The floating orb drifted close. It was made of delicate metal and sensors, highly sensitive to cold. One wrong pulse and it would freeze instantly. Syrah took a deep breath. Her hand glowed faintly, not with frost, but with control. She touched the drone gently, and nothing happened. No ice. The drone beeped happily and zipped away. Daniel clapped. That's 3 in a row. Syrah smiled wide. I didn't even feel cold this time. You're balancing it, he said. Like I told you before, this isn't a curse. It's a gift you never got the chance to understand. Syrah turned. To him, wind brushing her hair back. No one else ever said that. Daniel stepped forward. Then they were all blind. She looked at him with calm, grateful eyes. You saw me when no one else did. When even I didn't believe in myself. I didn't save you, Syrah, he said. I just stood still when the whole world ran away. News of her progress spread fast, across Valtheria and beyond. The story of the girl who froze all she touched was changing. Now they called her the Frostbearer. Not a monster, not a weapon, but a living bridge between two species. Alien leaders sent messages asking about her training. Human scientists requested peaceful interviews. Even children from nearby colonies drew pictures of her standing beside Daniel, hand in hand, surrounded by glowing stars. She was becoming something more than just a legend. She was becoming hope. One night, while resting near a heatstone, Daniel noticed her staring at a small notebook. What's that? He asked. She flipped it open. Inside were soft drawings, simple ones. A field, a home, 2 small children, a woman who looked like her, holding hands with someone who looked a lot like him. I've been thinking, Syrah said softly, about what comes next. Daniel raised an eyebrow. You mean, after training? She nodded. After this, after the tests, after the fear. He smiled. Planning the future, huh? I never thought I'd have one, she whispered. Daniel leaned closer. What do you see when you dream of it? Syrah closed her eyes for a moment. I see a place where I can walk freely, touch anything, hug someone without worry. I see little ones who look up at me and don't run. I see you. Daniel took her hand in his. You don't have to wait for the future. It's already starting. She looked down at his fingers wrapped around hers. I used to think I could never love anyone, she said quietly, that my body would always be a danger. But when you touched me, something changed. Not just in my skin, in my soul. Daniel brushed her cheek gently. You melted long before the ice did. Months passed. The snow still fell, the wind still howled, but everything had changed. Sira now trained others, younglings born with strange, rare conditions. She guided them with patience and warmth, using what she learned. Daniel helped design tools that balanced extreme temperatures based on what he learned from being with her. Together they were building a place of safety for those who had none. And one evening, just before the twin moons rose, Sira stood on a hill and looked up. Behind her, Daniel wrapped a thick blanket around her shoulders. She smiled. Remember the first time I touched you? How could I forget? He chuckled. I thought I was about to explode from frostbite. Sira giggled. I was more scared than you were. I thought you'd scream or turn to ice. Daniel stepped in front of her. Instead, I fell in love. She looked into his eyes. And I found something I never thought I could have. What? A place to belong. He kissed her forehead. You found more than that, Sira. You found your fire. She closed her eyes and whispered, No, I found you.